Welcome to the Biz Podcast. We are talking all about confidence and breaking and rewriting the rules so that we can find success in our business this season. And I am excited to be back and talking about this with amazing guests who can help you figure out the ways that you can find that confidence or that you can rewrite the rules so that your business can find that success that you wanted it to find. Today, I am going to have a conversation with these lovely two guests who I have with me today. So, Darlene Turriff is a 3 times bestselling and international impact award-winning author and content development coach. She's a serial entrepreneur after a lifetime of autoimmune illness. The lessons she used to heal her autoimmune, she now uses to run her business. She believes you need to follow what works and get results for you. Nicole Washburn is a copywriter, ghostwriter, book coach, and best-selling author of Copywriting Magic, How to Create Brilliant Content That Attracts Your Dream Clients. She helps coaches, soul-preneurs, and aspiring influencers find the heart of their message with the precise words that grab attention and lead to meaningful conversation, inspired action, and new clients. Nicole's words have appeared on the billboards in Times Square and on 6-figure sales pages. She is the head copywriter trainer for multiple 6- and 7-figure business coaches. Now she's bringing everything she learned to her own signature system. And together, they have created Get Content Confident and are creating a space for entrepreneurs to produce content with a touch of magic. And I'm excited to have you both here with me today. I've been in your program, I've learned from you, I've worked with you, and I know that when it comes to writing, when it comes to content, everybody but business owners, as they come into this world and learn all of the content they need to create, get very overwhelmed and scared and feel like it's just like this insurmountable thing that they need to deal with. And so I love that you're supporting business owners in figuring out how to handle that. But I also know from our conversations that you are helping them to sort of think a little bit differently about what it means to do all of that. So I'm sort of throwing you right in here, but maybe I'll let one of you start with, like, what does it feel like? What is it that you see that business owners struggle with? And I think that, there's that confidence piece for sure, but also, like, what is it that they get all swirly about that makes it so difficult for them to feel like content is a manageable part of their business?
Awesome. Yeah, we'll dive right into it. Thank you, Lara. And what we see a lot is that people want to do what they do. Like, people are great. Entrepreneurs want to be entrepreneurs. They want to be spending their time and energy delivering their service. And so the whole bit about the marketing and writing content is like something that probably they don't want to do. And then they have, like you say, that there's an insecurity around it because they say, I don't know how to do this, or I'm doing it and it's not sounding very good. So there's that. And my background's in education. And so one thing that I've learned, because I've been with a lot of writing students in Argentina, here in the United States, every age level you can imagine. What I've seen is that most people have writing insecurity. They have writing like the way we see that a lot of people have with math, where they just get nervous when they have to do math because it's challenging for them. That's actually a huge thing in writing that really goes untalked about and undiagnosed. And so we pull apart we take that and turn it into, let's make this really easy so you can get back to running your business and putting your energy on delivering your service.
Yeah. And Darlene, you may have something to add to that, and I'd love to hear that. But I do think that is one of the big keys, right? Is you think it's supposed to be a certain way. You think that it's supposed to be this level of, professional. You think that it's supposed to be only a wordsmith has the talent to do this, and you get so caught up in what you think it's supposed to be and that you're not good at that you not only feel bad about it, but you just try to avoid it, and you think there's not going to be a way. There's not going to be a way. Darlene, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I do. So those are the 2 types of entrepreneurs we see all the time. The ones that I'm not sure, so I don't do anything. And then there's the other, which is I'm just going to throw something at it because you're trying so desperately to follow the rules. I'm just going to keep posting, but it's not you. Like you're doing it just to have it out there. So, the confidence around writing comes with understanding the process of that entrepreneurial writing is its own process and it is creative. So that's the first rule we don't talk about as entrepreneurs, that we are stuck back in what we've learned about writing from high school. It's like, ugh, like nobody liked writing in high school, like nobody.
They didn't. And if you're, above, I don't even know anymore what age, but if you were my age or older, then certainly the way that we were all taught about writing was that it was meant to be really formal. Like when I started in the workforce, everything was like third person corporate. Like it had no personality, first of all. But if you think that you're supposed to be writing at this standard of something that isn't you, and you can't just write and be you, then you're going to want to avoid it. And that's not shocking or surprising, right?
Exactly. And that's a really good thing to hit on, that we are stuck following these rules that were pounded into us in grade school, in grammar classes, and then through junior high. I mean, remember how hard all that stuff was, and dissecting sentences. And like you say, like all this personality that we put into it, we were taught to take that out. You can't say it like that. You can't use contractions. You have to do it this way. You can't start a sentence with and rules upon rules upon rules upon rules that block our like natural way of expressing ourselves. And we end up following all these rules that are actually completely wrong when it comes to business writing. And in one hand, is very freeing because you realize, guess what? You can start a sentence with and if you want. In fact, we do it all the time and it's great. It's effective. You can use a fragment, a sentence fragment. So you're like breaking all these rules with a purpose because we're mimicking the way we actually talk and express ourselves. And that's where we're authentic. And the number one thing, the number one ingredient is authenticity. And our unique voice, our unique personality has to be in there, or the whole thing is gonna flop, right? So it's important thing to highlight there.
Yeah. And conversational, the idea, and I think that this is a thing that I am good at, is writing so that people can hear who I am already, right? Like I sort of speak and write the same way. But that's something that you get more comfortable with the more that you do it. And just leaning into what feels good for me was what was important. But also, there's the flip side, and I'm wondering if you have thoughts on that, is just the tips that you hear as a business owner constantly about the frequency and the how much and the how you need to present yourself and in all the ways online, and how much pressure that puts on entrepreneurs to feel like they have to be on all the time. And like, how are you supposed to do it unless writing is also your full-time job when you're, as one of you mentioned before, like you want to be doing the thing you do, not just writing.
Yeah, and this is Darlene's magic, or a big part of what she brings is this making it easy, where like, yeah, you don't have to be a slave to this system. In fact, that system isn't necessarily what's best for you. Maybe there's a much easier way to do it, and you're still getting out there with your authentic message. So I know Darlene's going to have some things to say about that, but from my standpoint, as the writer, like what's the content that goes in there? It's always about finding your authentic way of saying, how would you say it in a conversation? If you're sitting across the table with your ideal client, you're just talking, that's going to be the right language and the right voice. And one of the big myths that people come to us with is, I don't know how to write. I don't know what to say. And really, you have the right words. And this is what we show you. The right words you already have, or you have direct access to them. And so it's finding that, because you either know already and you just need the right questions and train of thought to get you to that, or we need to do a little research right in your market, your niche market, and the right words are right there. So it's not a mystery. It's all right there, like right for the picking. And we just like get you to that point where you can see it and start gathering it.
Yeah, so I think just to add to that, so one of the rules we break, and I don't see it so much as breaking rules, but the same way, yeah, I used to heal my autoimmune, is I had to make up rules that work for me. So definitely Nicole and I both identified when we were starting our business years ago that there was all this thing, this resistance around to being out there with your words and representing yourself. We have felt it. So we know exactly what it is. So one of the tricks that I use, so yeah, now I've written, well, actually I've written 4 books, but you guys only know about 3. So my other book is just sitting there waiting to go. But in that process of what did it take for me to do that, even though I had all those voices in my head saying, you know, like those high school voices, was what we've come up with is the generator. So we talk about, or we when Nicole and I envisioned this place that we've created for entrepreneurs, we weren't talking about what we were going to teach you. We were talking about the space that you need for you to show up in your business. So I guess that's the confidence part. When you address that space, you can go through. But going deeper in is how you discover all those words. So we create these generators where you're not actually in the creative flow, you're just being purposeful in your business. Like, what is it do I need to talk about? How does it relate to my business? And we just address all that, you know, for lack of a better word, our ego stuff where all the resistance is, and we get that out of the way. And then we hand it over. And Nicole kind of takes care of, okay, what are we going to do with that? Now that we know all these key words, we know all those sentences, how do we make these rules work for us in our business?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's coming up as you're talking for me is the idea that, and I see this, you know, as a coach, I see this in all kinds of areas, but it comes up here for sure in content creation, is that we think we're supposed to know the answer as soon as we start, right? It's like that whole idea of like the first words that come out of my mouth are the final copy, and not remembering that we all have drafts, not remembering that the first time somebody does a talk that it's not great, but they had to practice it. You know, somebody who's in a movie and they're actors, the actors don't get it right the first time either, right? But we have these expectations of ourselves that we're supposed to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and it should be perfect as soon as we write it, and that we don't need help and support to get there. And again, like in all the places, one of the things that I'm always preaching is it's not only okay, but it's a good idea to get support, because that's how you get there, wherever that is, faster. You're getting the solutions and the answers that you need. And so if you're feeling like, I don't know what to say, if you're feeling like it's not good enough, if you're feeling like, I don't know, like, first of all, there's the big messages, what to say, but then there's like the now, how do I put it into any kind of format? If all of those things feel like pressure and you don't know what to do with, there are ways to find support and help to get from, as you said, the things that are already within you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like what you were talking about of like this kind of sticky situation and the mess that we get in, and we all get there because this process is messy, and like anything creative is messy at first. You know, like if you're going to cook something in the kitchen, you're going to make a mess in the kitchen. And when we're writing, it's very messy, that first draft. And that's one of the things, like I'm now in a relationship with it. I'm totally at peace with that. Like I know my first draft is going to be all over the place, and it looks like a mess, but the key ingredients are there, or I'm going to discover them. Like you say, sometimes when we start writing that first draft, we don't know exactly where we're going with it. And that's okay. We just have to start writing. We're going to figure all that out as we start writing. And the more we keep going with it, all those answers become very clear. But if we get uncomfortable with the mess, we're going to stop right there. And that's what like writer's block is and all that stuff that they talk about. Like it's a real thing where people like, we have a weird relationship with our writing because we think it should be easy. We think it should just come out and look gorgeous on the page. And then we have all these people we admire and we look at all their good stuff. But then we don't realize, or we don't tell ourselves that's probably their 5th, 6th, 7th draft of that. It's definitely not their first draft. So like somehow we forget that writing, we can just rework something that's ugly. We just like redo it. And that first process, that for those first steps are a little messy, and that's okay. Because once we have everything out and we've discovered what it is we want to say, then we can do something with that. And then the second draft looks great. And then it's just editing tools. It's like there's no real mystery. Once you get behind the curtain, you see, oh, I just have to do this. I just do this little tweak and suddenly it sounds good. I mean, that's what copywriters and editors know. We know the secrets of how to turn that mess into something gorgeous. And that's what we share too, you know. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I said even the best writers. So I know somebody who's written, you know, several books, and she is one of the best writers I know, like compellingly beautiful writing. But when it gets to the point for her book to be edited, it gets like torn apart and then she rewrites it. Like there's nobody who's coming at things and can't use some feedback and support to help them tweak it or make it a little bit more understandable, or like everybody.
I think the most painful part and the most painful truth or rule is the best editor we will ever have in business writing is our own audience. And you have to put it out there and listen for the feedback in order to make the next version better. And it's hard. That hurts. It hurts sometimes. We hear it. It's like, I'm not ready. You know, my message isn't ready. I'm not sure. It's like, that's how you get sure. So it's like, oh, what do Nicole and I really want to offer? You need that confidence component, because it's the way through to great content is you have to put it out there, and you need to borrow a little courage, borrow a little confidence while you're getting to those gold nuggets or all the magic that Nicole and I talk about. It's hard, you know, do it with a sister. We say do it with a sister, for sure.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing from both of you is that idea that we probably all have a lot of rules in our head around what we think writing looks like, what content creation should look like, how it works. And if we can let go of what those are and start to look for things that will work, and maybe they're new rules and maybe they're different rules, and you get to pick, because there's no one way, right? Which is something I know the three of us all agree with, that there's no one way to do a thing. So you get to pick and choose from this variety of options, and then start doing it, get support. And that's where the confidence comes from, is in the doing and continuing to grow. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. It's the confidence only ever comes in the doing.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about how you see confidence grow and how you see, like, you know, I'm sure that you've worked with people who have been like, I can't do this. I cannot do it. All right, you say you can help me, but like, I'm walking in here and I'm going to be providing you with a challenge, and then seeing how that starts to grow. Like, what happens?
Yeah, that's the magical part that we love, because it always happens. It doesn't matter how sure people are that it's not going to work for them, or they really aren't good writers. Like, trust me, like I'm really bad, you know, that kind of a thing, because all that is blocked expression. Because as long as you can say it, like what you were just talking about before, Laura, as long as you can say it, then you can write it. And writing is literally, it's just this. So as long as you can do this, or you can do this, and all that works, you're good to go. And what you need is that new way of thinking about it and tapping into the words that are already there. So it goes back to what I was saying before, like the words are there. You need the process to relax and tap into them. And this is what all like artists talk about, like there's a certain point where they're like, it's the muse, or I'm just being inspired. Like you tap into something that is bigger than you, and it also comes from you. But there's such a wealth of wisdom that everyone's carrying around, and we all have our stories, our unique take on things. And certainly as a business owner, you have so much to share. So the words are there. It's just weeding through that and seeing what's going to work on my ideal client. That's part of what we always are working on. How do they want to hear it? What's the language they have around it? And then what is it that I need to deliver here? What's the big message? Like, how do I turn all of this into an ad? How do I turn it into an email? And we get overwhelmed because there's a lot of like things to plug into systems. There's landing pages, and then there's private messages, and like that's really what it is. And that's where like the easy templates come in. Like you don't even have to think up that part. Like the code has been cracked. This is what works in an ad. And yeah, there's a little bit of variety there, but for the most part, these are like standard things. You start with this, you got a headline, you got to grab their attention, then you got to talk to some pain points, you got to talk to where they want to go. Like the template is really amazingly simple, right? But so it's just plug and play at that point. And that's to me what keeps it easy.
Darlene, did you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I'm always thinking back to our client, Ruth. And the reason we talk about Ruth so much is, yes, she's gotten huge success, but unlike other business coaches, and I think what Nicole and I do is business coaching, they often talk about monetary success for their clients. And us with Ruth, it was, she came in and she was told by her teachers, like, you cannot write, do not plan to go to university. Like she was given all the, roadblocks that you could get. And she had a really strong feeling, not only about business writing, but about writing. So she had as low a confidence around that as possible. And the success is like right before we hopped on this call, I just shared with Nicole, it's like, did you see what Ruth posted today? And the thing is that it takes her 15 minutes to write a long post, and she is nailing her message quickly. So success, and so we're breaking the rules, is we're redefining what success is for our clients. And it's that they easily can talk about what they do. Like, that's it. And so the confidence was that she didn't believe, and that the confidence is that how quickly she just is able to talk about what she does. And she's talking to her real, like she's so confident that she knows who she's talking to. And all that comes about in the process of writing, like it's the doing of the writing that she found that clarity.
I love that. And so I think, well, there's still, where do we go next? There's so many things to talk about. I think, you have a program. So let's do that. Tell them a little bit about your program specifically so people can hear about it, because I think it's a good example of the kinds of tools you can take advantage of that give you that well-rounded support, right? So I have already said I'm in your program because I am looking for inspiration. I'm looking for words. I'm looking for feedback, and I'm looking for accountability, right? So Ruth came in looking for confidence and help, feeling like she was a good writer. And look at me, I'm coming in, I'm like, I'm already a pretty good writer. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it, right? Like I'm avoiding it because I feel like I don't want to, or I don't know where to start, right? So you have something that gives all those pieces. But now that I've said that, why don't you tell them about it?
Okay, I'll start, and then I'll let Darlene finish there. But yeah, so we have a membership. Like we don't have a course where you have to go through modules and learn this to go to that. Like we have a membership that shares a library, a vast library of templates and cheat sheets and guidelines and trainings to do different pieces that you're going to have to do in your business. And you pick and choose, just like a library, you go to whichever piece you want right now for your system. for where you're at right now in your business. And then the membership, where the real good stuff is in the showing up, like you were just saying. Like, it's great to have that library and it's all right there. I mean, that's huge. But as you know, you can have the best stuff, but until you actually do something with it, and not just start, but finish the project and publish it and get it out there. Meaning publishing, meaning when you hit, post, it's out there, it's published, and then you can walk away from it and let it do its thing and work for you. But most of us, even if we like writing, we stall, we procrastinate around sitting down and writing. And so that's where like the accountability comes in, where we're showing up all the time on the calls and checking in, or we're writing together in our writer's circle, where we get together every week and we actually sit down and write together. That's huge. And in the feedback, right, of getting feedback from people that we trust, because otherwise we're just hoping that somebody maybe in our family will read it. And that kind of feedback, generally, even when it's really well intended and whatever, it's normally not helpful at all, because our family members don't really get what we're trying to do. And so even if it's nice, supportive, or critical, it often doesn't help us at all. So that's why getting feedback from experts and from entrepreneurs that understand what's going on in online marketing and how you have to talk is huge. And the peer support too. So go ahead, Darlene. I know you have a...
Yeah, and I think one of the fun things that happen, and Lara, it's you that really gave us this feedback, is we don't need to help you create the whole thing. We just need to get you started. And it's that's, I think, what we offer is the space to, you're very clear on what you're supposed to be working on, and we just get you going. And then if you're not confident enough to share it at the end just on its own, then you bring it back for, and Nicole and I give our feedback on it, you polish it, and then you publish. So our community, or our membership, again, when we came up with this idea, was we had entrepreneurs like us in mind. We talked about the turtle entrepreneur. So we were exposed as young coaches and business owners to the high intensity and the big promises. And we just didn't relate to that. We always were comparing ourselves to, well, I didn't get that done, so what's the point? Or I don't see me ever doing that, so I'm not going to start. And we need to create a space for people to slowly build their business. And for me, that's what this membership is about. We wanted to create the space and give you everything you need, so you just show up and you can get these vital pieces, because our tagline is great content does the selling for you. We believe with such a passion that if all your billboard content, meaning all that stuff you put out there, is calling your ideal client all the time, that is cutting your work in half as an entrepreneur. And easy, I don't know how many times we've mentioned that, easy is a big, big motivator for us.
Yeah. And I mean, over and over, my big message is it's not about hustle harder, right? It's finding the easy way. It's finding the simple ways. It's finding the things that work for you. It's not getting stuck in what you think everybody else is doing and how can you do it like that. And so that's what I really was excited to have this conversation around, and it's finding the support and the strategies to switch it up when you feel like you're not getting it right. And whether you join a group and come in and do that with somebody else, or you find your ways on your own, it's finding the simple ways to stop beating yourself up and thinking that you can't do it. And so, I think this has been a great conversation. I would encourage everybody to go and follow Darlene and Nicole. I have put the links into the show notes and onto the Facebook Live for people who are watching live as we record these. As we wrap up, I will let both of you maybe share one last final thought for people when it comes to whether it's breaking the rules, changing the rules, getting more confident. We've talked about a lot, but like as a sum up, I'm going to let you both sort of have one final thought.
Right. Well, my final thought would be to let the words guide the way, that the words feel like they're the barrier and it's actually the door to everything. So as long as you just dive into this process of exploring the words and expressing yourself honestly and vulnerably, you're going to find the right words, and it's going to give you all the clarity that you need in your business. You're going to know exactly what to offer and how to offer it, and all that, everything is tied to the words. And I would not have believed that a few years ago, but I see that. And again, I use the word magical a lot, but it is a magical side to it. So let the words guide the way, dive in, and you'll find your own perfect process.
Just get started. Yeah, that's I like easy, and you can't finish what you don't start. So you need to put it out there.
Perfect. Thank you both so much for joining me on the podcast today. I think that encouraging people to believe in themselves so that they can get their content out into the world because they have important messages to share is so important. And I appreciate you both being here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So that's like formally the end of the podcast part of the recording. I can see there are a couple of people who are on Facebook Live. If you have any questions, I'm going to just make sure that my window is front and center. If you are on Facebook and you have any questions for Darlene or Nicole when it comes to content or any of the places that you really get stuck or the beliefs that you have around how content is difficult, pop them in, and we're going to stay on live for a few more minutes, and we're happy to answer any of your questions. And I'm sure, right? So Darlene and Nicole will be happy if you're watching this on the replay later to answer any questions here as well. But I think that I know that there are so many little beliefs that get stuck and that get us stuck rather, and stop us from starting and make us think that we are not really able to do all of these things. So if any of it doesn't look like any questions are popping in, but I do like to give people the chance because sometimes they're big and top of mind. But maybe since we're still here, and I will say, you know, or maybe I'll ask that one question around that piece, right? So where do you start, right? Like when you think, are there practice kind of templates or the easiest templates? Do you have any resources that you want to share that are like, this is the thing that will help you get going when you're feeling like, I just don't know where to even start, or I don't even know what people want to know? Do you have anything that you would share about that?
Yeah, I would say start with what outcome you want for your clients. Where do you want them to be after working with you? What's your big wish for them? What's your big dream for them? Talk about that, describe that, do some free writing where you just let whatever idea pops up in your mind, throw it down on the page around that. And then you look at what's holding your client back from that. And you're going to get a whole bunch of language about the challenges and the problems that they're having right now. And those two pieces are going to pretty much take you the whole distance. Like you get into that and you are on the right track.
Awesome. Anything else for either one of you? It doesn't look like any questions are popping in, so we can probably wrap it up. But Darlene, do you have any final thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I would like to hear Darlene's answer because I think hers is going to be different from mine and where she would start. So I think she's going to have something rich.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is the fun of being a duo, is we always have something the other one's not doing. So I actually had two answers to that question. So when I think of a business funnel, we all have this pressure to build our business funnel. I just changed the language around that for me. So it's, first encounter, then primary experience. So I want you to think about that primary experience, what that is for you and your ideal client, because the language that you will use, not in your teaching content, but in your billboard content, that stuff that goes out for you, will really revolve around the primary experience, that first encounter you have with your client. And one tip we already used today on another call is, if you have any testimonials, go back, and if you don't, go and ask people you've worked with. their words that they use is a great starting point for you to start writing your content. So you already have that cheat sheet built in. You just need to go tap into it. Look at those past testimonials or go and get some. And that will be your starting place of what your ideal client is getting from you.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I would even just say, I'm always paying attention to the questions I'm answering during coaching calls, like on a daily basis, because that stuff turns into content all the time, all the time. I'm like, oh, this is a thing I've been talking about a lot. I guess I should say it outside of these calls. There's so many little tricks on that. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies. And I am going to wrap up the Facebook Live.
Thank you.